Hello to those listening. This is an orator here with the freest of speech. And this time, I would like to talk about why Donald Trump, no matter how good he does, will fail in his bid for the Republican nomination for the presidency. And to begin, I need to start with a word. And the word is oligarchy. Now, this is how it's defined. 1. Government by the few. 2. A government in which a small group exercises control, especially for corrupt and selfish purposes. Also, a group exercising such control. 3. An organization under oligarchical control. Now, I started with this word because the concept that a small group of people have lots of power is not foreign to anyone who exists. Whether you're talking about a kingdom or you're talking about democracy or dictatorship, it is still a small group, the aristocracy of their cultures, that possess the true power. And they exercise it to their own personal benefit. And in some cases, to the detriment of those underneath them, and sometimes to the benefit. You just don't know. But when I'm using this word and putting it in the realm of Donald Trump, you may say, well, Donald Trump's a rich, wealthy man and he's connected politically, so he would be a part of the oligarchy. Well, yes and no. See, he can be a part of the oligarchy, but yet not be beneficial to the oligarchy. Because remember, as the definition says, it's about exercising control. And Donald Trump, as lots of people who have I've talked to personally have always told me that we like Trump because he tells it like it is. And that right there is the danger to the oligarchy. It's a danger to the system. You see, Donald Trump doesn't say anything that the Republican Party does not advocate for. He just says it in plain speak. You see, even with these people out there who advocate for Ted Cruz, they will say literally in the next sentence, and sometimes even in the same breath, they don't like Ted Cruz, but they don't want Donald Trump to win. Not that they don't like Donald Trump, that's why they're doing it. They're just saying we don't want him to win. And what is the difference between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump? It's in how they speak. See, Ted Cruz speaks with the fluid political sliminess that we Americans hate. The way of speech so that you can always deny what you just said, but at the same time still say it. Donald Trump talks plain. There is no real mincing of words here. When Donald Trump says build the wall, it's just build the wall. When Ted Cruz talks about it, it's all about fixing the immigration system and making sure we have security first, which is a lot more words to saying build the wall. But you may sit there and say, if you're an American or a person who believes in the voting system and saying, hey, it's all about the voting. If you, the person with the most votes should win. Well, I'm want to talk about the Electoral College in America. Now, the Electoral College was created by the founding fathers as a compromise between the people voting for the president and the Congress. Now, in the time frame in which this was created, the only people who could vote were wealthy landowners, white male wealthy landowners. Now, the difference between them and congressional members were the congressional members were congressional members because the congressional members at that time were white wealthy landowners. So again, with the electoral college being put into place, and now you have a way to separate things. See, with the electoral college in place, those who possess power don't have to worry about losing it because you see, you can get the popular vote, but the electoral college isn't with you, so your popular vote's irrelevant. And with that being said, how about we take a look through history to see if the people's voice is as powerful and as strong as we're told it is. In 1824, John Quincy Adams, who lost by 44,804 votes to Andrew Jackson, kind of tells you the difference. Or maybe in 1876, where Rutherford B. Hayes lost by 264,292 votes to Samuel J. Teton, and or maybe Benjamin Harrison, who lost by 95,713 to Grover Cleveland in 1988, and George W. Bush, who lost by 543,816 to Al Gore in 2000. So you see, even in a country that talks about how much voting matters, the system is designed to, well, inherently negate it. Because those totals that came up were literally people who, you don't know, probably stood in line for 2 or 3 hours, thought they were doing their civic duty, heard all the good rah rah about voting and how important it is, and they come to find out that their votes were totally meaningless. Matter of fact, it pretty much negates a whole lot of people's votes. Be- if you have a way to negate the fact that the popular vote doesn't win. Now, with the Trump controversy with the RNC, where they always talk about, well, the rules are in place and blah, 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 blah. But if you truly believe about democracy and the one vote, one count rule, it would be irrelevant. It will just, you have certain states where it's winner take all, and you have some that slice them up, and it's totally ridiculous. It should be very simple. If you have the most votes, you win. That's what voting's supposed to be. That's what democracy is supposed to be. But in practice, it's not. And it's not because of the oligarchy. People in power realize that if you actually allow the common folk to actually vote, they're inherently going to vote for their best interest, which is kind of the opposite of your best interest. That's why Trump's going to lose. See, it makes no difference if he beats them out by millions. He can literally he can probably have 10 or 20 million more voters than even his closest competitor. He'll still lose. But he's not going to lose because he somehow is trying to trick the voters. He's not going to lose because he's somehow bad for America. Because let's be serious here. Nobody could ever say they're truly prepared to be the president or anything like that. You see, you don't know what the job inquires until you take it. In America right now, there's only a handful of people who can actually sit there and say that I am prepared to be president. That is Barack Obama, George W. Bush, George W. Bush Sr., and Jimmy Carter. And the thing is, not to mention, forget Bill Clinton. You see, the thing about these 5 minutes that they have already been the president of the United States. They know what it's about. They know what it takes. Anybody coming in there is just, you was rolling the dice. Now, some people look at what Trump says and says, well, the way Trump behaves is going to be bad. You roll a dice, be crap out. Who knows? You roll a dice, you can jackpot. But in summary, Donald Trump's going to lose because he's bad for the oligarchy. Because Donald Trump speaks plainly in regular English that your common folk speak, not in political flowery language, so that he can always walk back and deny the things that he just said. And in turn, that's why he'll lose. It makes no difference that he's advocating for the same thing the Republican Party's been advocating for. It makes no difference that he's just saying out loud the same thing they've been saying. The problem is, when it comes down to the general election, when the rest of the country gets to say, hey, show me what you got, a lot of people aren't going to like what they see. And in the end, it's really about having power, not helping the people. And this was an orator here with the freest of speech. Thanks for listening.